1001 Nights, Night-1. The Tale of the Merchant and the Giant, Part 1. After Shahbaz, thirsty for hearing the story of Scheherazade, postponed her death, he eagerly rushed to his bedroom to hear the story from her lips on the first night. As the enchanting voice of Scheherazade filled the room, the bloodthirsty Shahbaz listened intently, his curiosity piqued. With a clever tongue, Scheherazade began her tale, weaving a spell that would save her life for another night. In a bygone era, a prosperous merchant, having spent his youthful years learning the intricacies of trade from his esteemed father, had grown into a wealthy and sagacious businessman. His travels had taken him to distant lands, and he had braved the perils of the sea and the desert. After a long and arduous journey, he decided to return home, eager to rest and spend quality time with his loving family. A year passed, and the scorching summer heat arrived. The young merchant, feeling refreshed, decided to embark on another journey. This time, he chose to travel by land, traversing the vast deserts and plains, rather than venturing into the unknown dangers of the sea. As he prepared for his journey, he stocked up on provisions and set off into the blistering desert. As the sun reached its zenith, the merchant arrived at a majestic tree, beneath which a crystal-clear spring flowed. Exhausted and parched, he sought refuge in the shade, intending to rest and refresh himself. His saddlebags were light, containing only a few dates and some bread. As he ate and drank, he carelessly discarded the pit of the first date, unaware of the fate that awaited him. The moment the pit hit the ground, the earth shook, and a deafening roar echoed through the air. A terrifying giant emerged from the depths, wielding a sharp sword and bellowing with fury.
"You wretched mortal! You have struck my beloved son with a date pit, piercing his chest and taking his life. Now I shall take your life in retribution."
The young merchant, frozen in terror, struggled to find his voice. With great difficulty, he stammered,
"Oh, giant! How can you jest with a weary traveler like me in this desolate desert? The pit of my date could not possibly take the life of your son, who must be as robust as you."
The giant's anger intensified, and he retorted,
"You dare to accuse me of falsehood? My decision is final, and I shall claim your life."
The merchant, realizing his impending doom, began to plead and wail.
"Oh, giant! If you are resolute in your decision, at least grant me a reprieve to settle my affairs and bid farewell to my loved ones. I promise to return to this spot at the end of the year, and you may claim my life then."
The giant, slightly mollified, inquired,
"How long do you require? And what is the purpose of this reprieve?"
The merchant replied,
"I wish to return home, distribute my wealth among my family, settle my debts, and then return to this spot, ready to face my fate."
The giant, still fuming, granted the merchant a year's reprieve.
"You shall have this one final request. But be warned, if you fail to return, I shall hunt you down, no matter where you hide, be it 7 layers beneath the earth or 7 layers above it."
With that, the giant vanished into the depths, leaving the merchant shaken and bewildered. The merchant hastened back home, settled his affairs, and distributed his wealth among his family. As the year drew to a close, he bid a tearful farewell to his loved ones and set out towards the appointed meeting place. Upon arriving at the tree, the merchant sat down, filled with trepidation and despair. Lost in thought, he failed to notice a wise old man approaching, accompanied by a gazelle chained to his hand.
The old man, noticing the merchant's distress, inquired about his presence in that forsaken land.
The merchant recounted his tale, cursing his fate. The old man listened intently, then said,
"It appears you are doomed, with no escape. Nevertheless, I shall stay with you, and perhaps we can find a way to alleviate your suffering in these final moments. If not, I shall ensure your body is returned to your family after your demise."
As they waited, a traveller, accompanied by 2 black dogs on a leash, approached. The merchant, fearing the worst, asked the old man if this newcomer might be the giant in disguise. The old man reassured him that the traveller was merely another mortal, similarly afflicted by fate. The traveller, upon learning of the merchant's predicament, decided to join the pair, hoping to find a solution to the merchant's plight. Just as they waited, another old man, riding a mule, arrived, and the same questions and responses were exchanged. Before long, a cloud of dust arose, and the giant, sword in hand, emerged from the depths, his countenance twisted in anger.
The time for retribution has come. I shall behead this merchant, and then you 3 shall follow, as a warning to any mortal who dares to tread upon the land of the giants.
As the giant raised his sword, the old man holding the gazelle's chain stepped forward, bowing deeply.
"O great giant, I know that this is your domain, and you are the lord of the giants. Before we meet our demise, I beg to share a tale with you, one that I believe will captivate your interest. If you find it pleasing, I implore you to spare 1/3 of the merchant's blood."
To the merchant's surprise, the giant agreed to listen to the old man's tale. The old man began his tale, his voice filled with emotion, as the shadows of the desert night danced upon the walls.
"O great giant, this gazelle, now chained before you, is my cousin, whom I have known since childhood. We grew up together, sharing laughter and tears, and as we matured, our bond blossomed into a deep and abiding love. We married, and our union was blessed with a profound affection. But alas, she was barren, and despite our efforts, we had no children to inherit our legacy."
The old man's words poured out like a river, recounting the tale of his wife's jealousy, her mastery of dark magic, and the tragic fate that befell his concubine and son.
As soon as the concubine arrived, my wife's jealousy ignited, though she spoke not a word. She masked her emotions, hiding behind a veil of courtesy and affection, but I could sense the turmoil brewing beneath the surface. After my son was born, her jealousy turned to malice and revenge, and I feared for the safety of my new family.
The old man's tale continued, revealing the depths of his wife's dark magic and the devastating consequences of her actions.
My wife had dabbled in magic since childhood, and her years of seeking remedies for her barrenness had honed her skills. She had consulted with the most skilled sorcerers and diviners, delving deep into the mysteries of the arcane. I, fearing for the safety of my concubine and son, never left their side, taking them with me wherever I went. I was trapped in a prison of my own making, bound by the chains of caution and fear.
As the old man's story unfolded, the desert night seemed to grow darker, as if the shadows themselves were listening to his tale.
As my son grew into a bright young man, I felt confident that my wife's anger had dissipated, and I set out on a journey to India to trade in spices. The scent of exotic aromas and the thrill of adventure beckoned, and I was lured away from the dangers that lurked in the shadows of my own home.
The old man's voice cracked with emotion as he recounted his return home, only to find his concubine and son gone.
My wife, with feigned concern, told me that the concubine had fallen ill and died, and my son, unable to bear the loss, had left home never to return. The world crumbled around me, and I spent 6 months in despair, weeping and wailing, praying for death to claim me. The memories of my loved ones haunted me, their faces etched in my mind like the intricate patterns on an ancient manuscript.
The old man's tale took a tragic turn as he described the day he had intended to sacrifice a cow, unaware that it was his beloved concubine, transformed by his wife's dark magic.
As I approached the cow with the knife, it began to wail and weep, its eyes streaming with tears. The sound was like a dagger to my heart, and I was taken aback, unable to bring myself to sacrifice it. I asked the shepherd to do the deed, and he, unaware of the cow's true identity, slaughtered it with a swift stroke. But as we skinned the cow, we discovered that it was nothing but skin and bones, a testament to the suffering it had endured.
The old man's story was a tapestry woven with threads of love, loss, and magic. And as he spoke, the desert night seemed to grow more enchanted. The stars twinkled like diamonds in the sky, and the wind whispered secrets in the old man's ear.
I had intended to distribute the meat among my neighbors, but as we discovered the cow's true condition, I knew I had to find another animal to sacrifice. I asked the shepherd to bring me another cow, and he, unaware of the tragedy that was about to unfold, set out to the nearby fields to fetch one.
The old man's voice dropped to a whisper, as if he feared that the giant might not hear him.
But alas, the cow that the shepherd brought back was none other than my own son, transformed by my wife's dark magic. The cycle of suffering and tragedy was about to repeat itself, and I was powerless to stop it.
As the old man's tale reached its climax, Scheherazade's enchanting voice was about to be silenced by the dawn, leaving the Sultan entranced to succumb to sleep. And so, the tale would continue on the second night, a thread of narrative that would weave its way through the fabric of the night, binding the listeners in its spell. To be continued on the second night. Farewell.